But a lot of it does come back to this question of like who owns the thing, right? And I admit I have enough lawyer brainworms at this point that my immediate thought goes to like, okay, well, the contract of the, and then one of you during the top prep said, well, what about like team ownership? And I was like, oh, right. We talk in law school about this analogy that ownership is, for reasons I don't remember or maybe never knew, we talk about ownership being a bundle of sticks. And the idea is that we talk about it as if it's like one big trunk, but it's actually like a lot of different small things, right? And ownership in the code world is very fragmented because there's this sense of like, well, okay, for almost all of you, if you are working for a company, at the end of the day, your company owns the code that you are writing, at least on the company time, as long as unless you're very careful to like not do it on company time, not do it on company hardware, and to do it in areas that are unrelated to what the company is working on. If you're doing those things and you keep it, but otherwise, as a general rule of thumb, the company owns it. So that's like the sort of lawyer brain answer. Like, well, yeah, okay, we're done here. It's been a nice podcast. Glad to talk to you all. But there's very much, of course, all these fractal little senses of, well, okay, but what does it mean when the team versus individual ownership? Because in a lawyerly sense, like the company is the one who can sell it, but who has responsibility for it within the company? Like that's not a legal question. That's a team norms, team behaviors kind of question. And there's also these questions of what exactly is it that you own, right? Because I spent several years of my career, I am what we call a transactional lawyer. Like basically I do contracts. If the contract goes wrong for some reason, that is somebody else's problem to argue about it in court. And so I've only ever been to court for work once, which was a little case called Oracle v. Google. And you might have heard of that one. And the question at some level was about who owns or can anyone own the idea of an API, right? And that's probably not something you're thinking about too much in your day-to-day, right? And your corporate lawyers probably aren't most of the time either. They're not thinking about who owns the API. They're just thinking about like this file.